Good morning. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. At this time, if you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment? Noting none, can I get a verification of the posting of the agenda, please?
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on September 27th between the hours of 10 and 12 at all of the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Pam. At this time, could I get a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held on September 5th, 2024?
I move to approve the meeting minutes held on September 5th, 2024.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Move on to our appointments. 7A, consideration of possible action, swearing in ceremony for the Fallon Churchill Fire Department officers for 2024-2025. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we have the second assistant chief and the third assistant chief. Kenneth Russ Jonette will be sworn in as our second assistant chief, and Mitch Young will be sworn in as our third assistant chief. The board members, Chris Henning and Destry Johnson, will be sworn in separately as they are unavailable for this meeting today. Fire Chief Dooley and the first Assistant Chief Randy Sharp have existing active oaths on file, so they're not here to be sworn in, and we can begin with the swearing in. Thank you.
The officer position of? And then state your position. Perfect. On which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Thank you, guys. And then if you'll come over and sign this one.
Thank you guys for everything you do. We'll move on to 7B, consideration and possible action, ratification of award and purchase of equipment for ADSD-funded Title III-C nutrition programs from an agreement between the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Aging and Disability Service Division, and the Churchill County Social Services in the amount of $8,053. Shannon?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. We were having issues with our washer and dryer at the Life Center, so we contacted ADSD to see if they would fund this. There's no match required. They have approved the contract for us to move forward with the purchase. Any questions?
Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to approve and ratify the grant as presented.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Shannon. Moving on to 7C, consideration and possible action, adoption of Resolution 17-2024, declaring certain equipment of the Churchill County Road Department as surplus property and authorizes the disposal of said property in any manner. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Sanford for the record. This resolution allows for the disposal of equipment throughout the county, including several vehicles. NRS 332185 authorizes the Board of County Commissioners to declare personal property of the county as surplus and dispose of that property in any manner, including public auction, which is the intent for most of the equipment here. All of the items to be disposed of are listed on the attachment in the resolution.
Is there any question or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to adopt Resolution 7-2024 as presented.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to 7D, consideration and possible action, appointment of Paul Harmon to fill an unexpired term of Sean Richardson to the Board of Directors for the Fallon Golf Course Incorporated. Joe? Either way, Jim or Joe?
Because of staff that has moved on from city employment, that left an opening representing the city, and in conversations with the city and the mayor, their recommendation was their council board member, Paul Harmon. I think he's a great selection. He is actively engaged in golfing and utilizing the golf course, and will be, with his construction background, I think will be another beneficial member with the group that we have as board members there. Therefore, we're recommending him for this appointment.
Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to appoint Paul Harmon to the Board of Directors of Fallon Golf Course, Inc., with a term expiring January 18th, 2026.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to 7E, consideration and possible action, application for community support funding from the Fallon Community Theater in the amount of $3,000 to support the Main Street Spooktacular event on October 31st, 2024. Jessica, you want to come up and talk about the event?
Jessica Huckabee with the Fallon Community Theater. So I have an updated budget. I don't know if you guys want a copy of that, because the application at the time I submitted it was September 20th, and we've received more donations and support since then. Did you want a copy of that, or do you want me to just throw numbers at you?
You can bring us a copy. That'd be
Okay,
great.
may I approach the bench?
Yes, of course.
I've always wanted to say that. All right. Sorry.
So here, this is
Thank you.
as of yesterday.
Gotcha.
So I did receive an email this morning. So the donations it's a promised amount of $250. So the total donations as of this morning will be $6,100. We have not received the official quote for the event insurance or the portable toilets, but our goal is $9,740.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the event that you guys put on?
Hold on, I'm trying to make the button work. So last year we had roughly 2,500 children attend, and when you add the adults, it could have been in between $5,000 to $6,000. We recently partnered up with Search and Rescue this year, so the event will be bigger. We are now going to take up 3 blocks. We're going to go from Williams to Stillwater. Free candy, free activities for those parents who aren't big fans of candy. So we're going to have bounce houses, pumpkin painting. Hopefully the sheriff's office will be there to read books to the kids. No pressure. We'll have ambulance, fire truck, Search and Rescue will be there with their equipment. We've got a big cement truck. So it's just a safe environment for the kids to have trick-or-treating and Halloween activities.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Just so you know, Jessica, I don't know if you knew this or not, but so in 2025, fiscal year 2025, we'd reduced the budget by 31% for this line item. So I'm thinking, Justin, if you want to we'll do 31% reduction. So that'll be $2,070. Does that work for you? And so we're just kind of trying to keep
Understood.
that same thing for everything we got going on. So a motion, please.
I move to approve funding in the amount of $2,070 in FY25 to support the Fallon Community Theater's Main Street Spectacular event on October 31st, 2024.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Oh, photo. Move on to 7F, consideration and possible action, approval of an agreement with A&K Earth Movers for the demolition of an existing building located at 60 West Richard Street, Fallon, Nevada, in the amount of $49,500. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow Commissioner. Randy Hines, Churchill County Public Works Planning and Building. As you know, social services and the Public Works Planning and Building moved down to 270 South Main Street. That's the Frazzini building. With the move, additional parking is needed. We solicited bids from 3 separate contractors, with A&K being the lowest at $49,500. If this is approved, it'll provide approximately 22 on-site parking spaces for employees and county vehicles.
Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to approve the request of quotation to A&K Earth Movers, Inc. as the lowest responsible bidder in the amount of $49,500 and to approve the county manager to execute a contract.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Move on to 7G, consideration and possible action. Approval to allow employee 1438 of Churchill County Museum to take an unpaid leave of absence for up to 2 additional months until December 2nd, 2024. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Chris Bross, Churchill County Assistant County Manager, HR Director.
Mel Glover, I'm the director of the Churchill County Museum.
So the reason that we're here today, the museum has an employee number 1438, that is requesting to take some additional leave without pay to deal with some personal matters. The director has the authority to authorize 30 days of leave. That 30 days has expired. Once that happens, the board has the authority to grant leave without pay for up to an additional 6 months. And employee number 1438 is requesting an additional 2 months through to December 2nd, 2024. This employee has used up all annual leave and sick leave during the original month, and so we're here in front of the board today to request that the board approve the leave for the additional 2 months. And with that, I'll yield to the board for any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board or staff? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to allow employee 1438 of the museum to take an unpaid leave of absence for up to an additional 2 months until December 2nd, 2024.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Did you have any of the letters received you wanted to pull, Justin? We'll move on to 9, new business. 9A, consideration and possible action, purchase of a K-9 replacement for the sheriff's office from McKennell in California for $9,500 and the funding option available for the purchase. Sheriff?
Hi, thank you. Sheriff Richard Hickox for the record. So our current K-9 program started under then Sheriff Rich Ingram, but it actually started with Churchill County back in the 80s under former Sheriff, now under Sheriff Bill Lowry. Our K-9 has been utilized extensively for not only searching of cars and buildings for narcotics that are harmful to our community and to the people that live here and travel through here, but also as a public service kind of a icebreaker. We utilize it at the community days We've taken it to schools and to other businesses and other events. What happens with that is public members that otherwise would not want to approach law enforcement, or kids that don't want to approach law enforcement see a dog and they want to pet with that dog. They want to interact with that dog. And that gives us a chance to provide a positive interaction with that kid or with that family that they would not otherwise have. Our current canine passed away unexpectedly on September 10th. And so we have a large investment in training into our handler, into a car, and into synthetic narcotics to train that dog with, into training aids to train that dog with, programs to track its training. And we have a strong need within our community for a narcotics searching canine. And so we began the process of looking for a replacement. We had a lead on one that would have been within the state of Nevada that we could have picked up. However, there was so many red flags that arose with that dog and surrounding that deal that we decided to just back away because we felt like the liability was too huge to even strongly consider. We met with and talked with other agencies from around the area that have successful canine programs that we have gleaned information from, trained with. Carson City, Douglas, Washoe, those agencies that have strong, reputable programs. They gave us some leads on which kennels to go to. Carson City had told us about Von Lick, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. The guys in the back that are canine handlers will probably smack me if I pronounced it wrong. But it is a kennel that's out of Southern California. Carson City uses it exclusively for their dogs. And so my canine handler and his supervisor reached out to him, talked to him about their dogs. They had just taken possession of a number of Malinois, and they had a German Shepherd down there. So we went down, took a look at them, and came back. They came back very excited about one of the dogs. They got to watch it work. It is certified on narcotics. It is the narcotics that we are looking to try and take off of our streets, heroin, fentanyl, LSD, cocaine, those kind of things, meth. And so that's what we're trying to get off of our streets. That's what we're trying to keep our community safe from. And so this dog costs $9,500, and it comes trained. We will send it back through some training with our handler just so that we can meet the requirements of the courts for the state of Nevada. But we have three options essentially for payment. We have it's called the seizure fund, and that money is collected from when we have seizures for narcotics, drug dealers, whatever. The stipulation on that is that it must be spent with some form of a drug enforcement nexus, and I've confirmed that with our comptroller and with our attorney. And so we feel strongly that a narcotic detection dog would fit that bill, and so we feel strongly that that purchase would fit within that. And so we are asking that we would like to use that money for it. However, there's some other options out there that we would like to explore. That being that the Churchill County Coalition has come forward and said that they have $5,000 sitting right now that they would be willing to put forward towards the cost of that dog, which cuts the cost from $9,500 down to about $4,500 is what we would have to pay. They also have the option, and they're working with a grant that they have already received, and they've received $5,000 to purchase some narcotic disposal items for the Churchill County Sheriff's Office. And they're looking to try and convert that $5,000 from that to allow us to purchase the dog. If that's the case and that is successful, then that will cover the entirety of that dog, the cost of that dog. And so those are kind of our three options that we have. Either we pay the $4,500, they pay the $5,000, we pay the full term, or else they pay all of it. And so we would like to move forward with this dog. We feel strongly that the community needs one. It's not just used for the Churchill County Sheriff's Office, but when the Fallon Police Department calls out, we go out and help them search the car. NHP, the same thing. We've helped a number of different agencies. And like I said, it's a huge hit at community days, which allows us to have positive interactions with the public. The reason that we're asking to move forward with this quickly is that dog is on hold for us until the 21st of this month. And so we want to go down, pick it up, get a couple of weeks in with our handler, and then we have a spot reserved at Carson City's Canine School for our handler and that dog to go through, just so that they can get the familiarization and they have that certification when they go to court. They can present it, and the courts are satisfied that this is a trained pair. And so that's what we're looking at. The dog is already certified, my handler's already certified, but they need to have some training together so that they can meet the requirements of the court. So those are our options, and we would like to move forward with the purchase of this dog.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick question, just curiosity. What's the age? No background in this. So what's the age of the dog, and how long has it been trained, and what's its usual life? I mean, you can't know exactly, but what's its usual life expectancy? What does that look like?
So the current dog that we're looking at is 1.5 years. It has been trained for, I don't know exactly how long, but I know it's been several months. It is certified, and so they got to watch it actually search for narcotics in a old abandoned, I think it's like mall. And so that they're satisfied. Other agencies that were there watched the dog, and they all fell in love with it. So we're very excited about that. Life expectancy of a dog, it kind of varies by animal, but we're hoping to get about 6 to 7 years out of this dog. That's what we've got out of one of our former canines, and he was phenomenal.
Any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Noting none, a motion, please.
I move to purchase a replacement canine through the kennel in California for $9,500 using seizure funds and community funding.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
Anything you want to pull off the consent agenda? If not, a motion to approve that.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move on to consideration of future agenda items. Anything you want to add? Okay, we'll move on to Commissioner and Management Staff Report. Start with you, Justin.
Nothing to pass at this time.
I had breakfast with the mayor yesterday, and then I had a library board meeting last week. Sherry?
Our external audit starts on Monday. That's what's going on. Thanks.
Joe?
Nothing to add.
Jim?
Just a couple of quick things. We have started taking the trailers off of the Casey Road property, so we're going to have that cleared in the next couple of weeks. That's being hauled out to the city dump, and the road department's helping us on doing that, so we hope to have that cleaned up, and we'll finish it off with some gravel. We'll come back to the board for a final approval. We've got approval for a guesstimation cost from you guys from when we first purchased the property as part of the intent. But we're trying to figure out exactly what this is going to cost to get that completely done. The city's working hand in hand with us for the obvious benefits of public safety as well as the eye appeal coming into town. So hopefully that's going to be cleaned up and look much better. We're getting a lot of action from developers now that money's starting to get a little bit cheaper. Some of those projects that are sitting as PUDs are being shopped around a little bit more actively in the last 2 weeks. Continue to move forward with the solar project in the north part of the county. We haven't heard anything new from SNPLMA in terms of an announcement there, but we're told that that is being pushed on, and hopefully there will be an announcement prior to the election. And then we continue to work on the library issue with the middle school students and basically obstructing access to the library after school hours. We are working with the school district trying to get them to step up and help us maybe with some costs on a security guard during those hours after school. We haven't got a firm answer from them yet, but we probably will bring something to you in 2 weeks one way or another because it's just gotten that bad. It's people can't access a public building. So we've got to do something. And that's all I've got for you today.
Thank you, Jim. Sheriff?
Sheriff Richard Hickox again for the record. Thank you for your time. Earlier, I guess in August, and I haven't seen you guys since then, so I apologize for that. Myself and Captain Sweeney attended a PULPAC conference in Elko that dealt with a variety of topics. Some of them dealt with, one of them that we attended was jail meds and the need for that. We got some interesting insight from Lyon County commissioners as well as a few other agencies that have gone through the process. So we hope that that'll be beneficial to us in the long run when we sit down and talk about that. There is one other area that I want to bring forward to you guys and let you guys know where we're at. I have spoken with our attorney briefly on it, and that is with an issue within the jail. When our jail was built in 2017, we used a contractor. That contractor was Prime Coat to put stuff in the padded cell, right? And what we found out after that was installed is that their stuff is kind of precludes the use of other products to help repair it. It's very, and I apologize, I'm just screwing up the word right now, but anyway, none of the other companies that do padded cells, their product is not compatible with it. And so when we have a damage to the cells, and we've had a number of times that those cells have been damaged, we have to have them fly in. They have to bring in a bunch of equipment, and it's well over $6,600 to have that done. And the turnaround time is extended for like months sometimes. And so we're down that cell because we can't utilize it while it's down. And so with 2 of those cells in our jail, being down one, and with the current state of mental health and us having to use them frequently, as you guys know, in the jail, we've had some folks that have some strong mental issues in there. It greatly hampers our ability to provide the adequate and proper service that we need in that for those cells. And so right now we currently have that cell is damaged yet again, and each time it's damaged, it's about $6,600, and that's money that we don't ever recoup from the people just because they don't have it, right? And so we have reached out to that company to try and get them to come in and fix it. I think we finally got a response back, but our responses have gone unanswered for quite a while. So we started looking at other companies. We found another company that's able to come in and take all of the padding off of that door and replace it with their padding. And the good side to that is that if there is a damage to that padding cell ever again, if there's any damage to it, they do sell a patch kit that we or the maintenance crew could use on that door. And the cost of those patch kits is sometimes a couple $100. And to me, that's a much better option just for the long run of that facility, because right now we've had, within the last, I think, year, we've had five times that cell's been damaged at the cost of about $6,600. That other company will come in and replace that padding for $5,500 and change, so it's almost $5,600. So it's a significant cost savings up front, and then down the road, with their patch kits ranging, from a couple $100 up to about $1,000, and we're able to do it. We're not down that cell for that length of time. We feel like it's a great benefit, and so we're going to be exploring that option a little bit more just to see exactly what it's going to cost. The other issue that we see and we think is going to be solved by this is the other company doesn't tuck their edges in. And I know that probably sounds kind of silly, but with an exposed edge, it gives them something to tear at. And this company that we're looking at, they tuck their edges in a little bit tighter so that it doesn't present that edge for them to pick at. And so that's something we're exploring right now. We'll have more information for you guys in the future on that. That's what we're looking at, because right now that cell's been down for extended period of time. We're waiting on a response from Premcoat, and I just don't feel like that's acceptable. We need all of those cells available. That's why they were put in there. We do have a strong need for both of those cells based off of some of the mental health patients that end up in our jail, and so that's just one of the things that we're working on.
Thank you, Sheriff. If I could, Sheriff, do you think we could start doing like a kind of an update on like crime, I guess, and crime-related activities, like a statistics in a way? I figure I'm going to be here about 10 more years, hopefully, so I'd kind of be interested in tracking what goes on and the
Yeah, we can
changes
start
and
getting you
everything.
something.
Okay, thank you. Pam?
The only thing I would say is that we've been extra busy. As you know, the voter registration cards were mailed out by the state. Everybody's number changed, and we've been very, very busy taking those cards in. And early voting starts on October 19th.
Well, that's not the only thing, Pam. I want to give a huge shout out to Pam. Board of County Commissioners would love to thank you for everything you do for the Jim Riggin Memorial Scholarship, the golf tournament. Pam does all of the fundraising by herself, her and her family. She runs the entire tournament by herself, so she deserves that round of applause, and let's give her another one. Yeah. Claims and payroll are going around. Oh, yeah. Art, do you have anything you wanted to add for updates?
K-9, I think that's a tremendous force multiplier in multiple ways. for law enforcement. So I greatly appreciate you considering that, because that helps all of us in doing our jobs. I appreciate the sheriff taking advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. At this time, is there any public comment?
Technology is not my forte, but thank you. I appreciate the help, Mr. Chairman. Representing Nevada's 2nd Congressional District, which is basically the top half of Nevada. I apologize if I held you up on anything a little late. I'm happy to report that the NDOT folks are alive and well, straddling the Churchill County-Lyon County line on Highway 50. And I'm also happy to say to the district attorney and to the sheriff that I had no contacts with any of their personnel on the way out here for my driving habits, which as I get older are not as exciting as I used to like to think they were. I'm mindful of the commission's agenda and its time, so I'm going to go kind of quickly through some broad brush things and then talk about some specific things that I think the manager brought up in terms of follow up with the expansion bill for NAS Fallon and where we're at and what we're doing on those sorts of things. So let's start out with, obviously there's nothing going on at the national level. Nobody cares about the Middle East. There's nothing going on with ports that don't have any impact on everybody and all those other sorts of things. The Secret Service hasn't been in the news for what's going on in terms of providing security for folks at the top of the ticket for the upcoming elections. And then, of course, FEMA is not on anybody's mind because there's nothing going on with a hurricane throughout a large portion of the East Coast. It's a little different for me this time because as the subcommittee chairman of the Homeland Security, we've got Secret Service's budget, we've got FEMA's budget, and we, as the number 2 person on the Interior Committee, subcommittee on funding, we also have a lot to say with what the Department of Interior / BLM is doing, as in the Carson District Office and the expansion bill for NAS Fallon. And so let's just go through some of those real quick. You may have seen that people are saying there is no money in FEMA and they can't respond to what's going on this in the Southeast. I can tell you that there was about $1.8 billion left in the FEMA fund on September 30th at the end of the federal year. When we passed the continuing resolution, there was 20+ billion in that. And so, and I know this is being streamed out, there is money for FEMA to conduct their operations in terms of providing that life safety immediate help to those folks in those 5 states in the Southeast. Not a weatherman. If there's more hurricanes and stuff like that, then you know what, that changes the dynamic. Everybody needs to know that at the federal level, when FEMA goes into an area, they have 30 days to say, here's what we think the initial bill is. And why is that important? Because if you're trying to provide funding for disaster relief, you kind of need a target. So it's not even a moving target yet. They're fully funding life, health, safety, debris removal, stuff like that. It is hard to burn through $22+ billion in the next less than 30 days. That doesn't mean there isn't more work to do. That doesn't mean that anybody's saying mission accomplished, everything's fine. But in terms of the political types playing their games on it's not funded, blah, 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 I'm just here to tell you as the guy who has ultimate responsibility in the House for their budget, they are fully funded, they are performing their mission, and by the way, the funding streams are not even the same with whatever the administration is doing with soft-sided shelters and what's going on at the border. 2 entirely different pots of money. So I'm sure that won't change the narrative for the political Olympians, but if facts are important, there's plenty of money for them to do their job until we go back, which is the Tuesday after Veterans Day, after the election, obviously. So there's the update for that. Same story real quick with the Secret Service. We went to them and said, what do you need to get through the election? And what do you need to get through the inauguration? Tell us those two things. We're not doing a wholesale re-whatever of the Secret Service. We want to chop the wood in front of us. Given us a number, we sawed off on that. That was in the continuing resolution. So the Secret Service has the funding they need to carry out their mission in terms of protection, buying more bulletproof glass, more drones, and whatever they need to do. We did not try to get into their business like me telling the sheriff or the district attorney how to run their offices. You tell us. We vetted that. So I'm here to tell you unequivocally that if something changes, then we'll deal with that. But for right now, we feel like we've done a pretty good job of saying, what do you need, why, who are you buying this stuff from? Okay, there you go, there you go. Getting a little closer to home, part of the, one of the other agencies that we have in the Homeland Security Subcommittee is CISA, which are the cybersecurity folks' non-military mission. Why am I telling you folks that? That means utilities, that means the sheriff's office, that means private businesses, stuff like that. They're a resource to every community in this state, every county in this state, obviously including Churchill County. We have already had them come out with the head of the agency, lady by the name of Jen Easterly, West Point graduate, sorry, Navy people. But anyhow, impressive young lady. We've already had an initial meeting where we had law enforcement north and south, NV Energy, utilities, the whole 9 yards to go. I'll just be honest. What I told them was, I said, since the chairman happens to be from Nevada, I want Nevada people to have absolute unfettered access to those resources in terms of as you're doing planning or you have problems, or at the county level, you're saying, you know, we're not sure we like our plan, or we want somebody to look at it to see how that looks. The whole gambit of things that are non-DOD, CISA is there as a resource for you. And so all I'm gonna leave it with, if you think you need some help and you don't ask, shame on you, because they're there for you, and you ought to. Even if you think we're belt and suspenders squared away, if you want us to have them come out and say, okay, let's just look at your thing informally, then do it. Take advantage of that. Whether you're the sheriff, whether you're Churchill Communications, or whoever, or you're one of your big private entities in the area, TCID, you name it. So with that, let's talk about the latest lands bill. There is probably the biggest thing that I think in it that's regionally significant for Churchill County is there is language in it that says that they're going to, like a trick two. And so obviously, since you guys are connected with that part of Lyon County in more ways than some days you like to talk about in terms of canals and TCID and all that other fun stuff, that bill is set to be marked up in House Natural Resources the week we get back in November. I'll be honest with you, I wanted it done a long time before that. I'm not going to say I had my feelings hurt, but because that'll be a euphemism. However, the timing, as it turns out, with what the Senate is or isn't doing on a lot of things, doesn't turn out to be catastrophic or negative or anything else like that. To be very honest, in terms of, and by the way, the Homeland Security bill was passed off the House floor, and also the Interior bill was passed off the House floor. The Senate hasn't done anything with either one of those, but the good news with that is, so the conference process will be alive and well. So when we talk about those roads and BLM that were part of Pole Line Road, Sand Canyon, and then also reimbursement with BOR for the weir costs, stuff like that you folks have brought up. First of all, thanks for spending the money on somebody who is pretty skillful at the federal process for things like that, and that's Kai Anderson and his folks. I'm not here to do an advertisement for Kai. I mean, he's from Idaho, but he's doing the best that he can for being an Idaho person. But anyhow, so I think we'll have plenty of opportunity in November when we get back to say, and by the way, John Raby, I consider a partner, so we'll talk to him about how much he can do at the state level to make sure when we talk about whether those roads are designated whatever for maintenance purposes, if he can't do that at his level, then we'll get him plenty of help at above his level at BLM and Department of Interior, so we can get those things straightened out, so you're not surprised in terms of, we didn't think we were gonna have to pay for this, what the heck, so we'll get that squared away. Also, on a more local level, you're starting to get the initial folks that, who had grazing permits and stuff like that, that were affected by the NAS expansion. The first one through, I think, is the Snow folks, and so we had a meeting with the Snows. I had the Navy into my office 2 weeks ago to go, don't be going back to where we started. We put specific language in the bill to compensate these people accordingly for whether it's a grazing lease, you know, and the lawyers say, no offense, Art, I'm a recovering one myself. But anyhow, stuff like, well, we can't pay you because it's just a lease. It's like, yeah, you can pay them, and out here, those are valuable things, and people rightfully value them as a lot. So we're keeping a close eye on that. It'll also be an opportunity, though, because we put language in to say, if you can find substitute grazing and they want it, then let's try to do that. Well, I think there's going to be an opportunity in that instance to go, hey, maybe substitute grazing, maybe I spoke too early about Idaho stuff or whatever, but somewhere up there north of wherever. So anyhow, we're keeping a close eye on that. We consider this process in making sure that they follow up on everything that was in there, payments to Churchill County, road stuff, all that other sort of stuff. I told people, I says, actually, when you get to this stage, passing the bill, which took parts of 3 Congresses, was almost like it wasn't partisan. It didn't matter what party they were. It was still harder than heck. But having said that, this is actually probably going to be the hardest part because you got to follow it up, you got to follow up the follow-up, you got to keep following up. Never an opportunity to say mission accomplished. I think we'll be dealing with that in terms of an everyday thing for a while. Love to be wrong, and if I am, please feel free to call me out and say you didn't know what you were talking about on that. But, so we're continuing to work on that, and I want to thank Mr. Barbie for being a real-time responder and a real-time communicator because, you know, it's just one of those things we say, yeah, we'll get around to it or whatever. Things don't get done when you say you're going to get around to it. So that's top of radar screen for that sort of stuff. I also want to tell you one other thing that I shared with the Navy and in our meeting is I said, I'm not saying this is happening and I'm not telling you how to run your Navy, but when somebody makes a decision at Southwest Navy or in DC and then you turn around and you give it to the local base commander to be the bad guy, I go, not that anybody ever sent me to a charm school. That's bad management. That's bad practice. Quit making whoever the local person is the guy who's got to go basically punch everybody in the nose and tell them whatever. Now, I didn't clear that with the commander out here, and I didn't clear this with him. But anyhow, so it's on the record. If the people who are making the decision aren't local folks, to put it on the local base commander. I was an Army guy, so maybe I don't understand real well. But having said that, it's like whoever's making those decisions ought to be the folks dealing directly with the locals instead of going, hey, you're the commander, have a nice day, and good luck with that. So anyhow, just so you know, we're going to be watching that too in terms of, so we're dealing with people who are actually making the decision. Now, if the local commander makes that decision, then fine, there you go. But when we're trying to get the people who make decisions on that in the room so we can have a conversation like we're having right now, doesn't help to have surrogates who weren't the ones really responsible for that. I think I will stop there and see if there are any questions or anything else like that, and I'd be happy to try to respond. You also need to know that my Deputy Chief and Legislative Director Ken Brook, who has worked extensively on the NAS Fallon bill from the beginning and continues to be, is also, I guess you guys are kind of high-tech now and you're streaming, however the heck you do that. So he's on the streaming stuff. So if you want to say anything nasty about him, please feel free, and he'll get it in real time.
Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Okay.
Just a couple of comments. First off, when we talked to Ken a couple of days ago, he gave us a heads up that it looks like the funding for the preliminary engineering through EPA is going to start rolling. So I was hoping I was going to give you the opportunity to take a bow for that. We appreciate your help on finally getting that pushed through, which is about $300,000. We've already expended it, but that reimbursement will come in, and that's helpful. And any help that you continue to give us on those earmarks, we greatly appreciate. And just as you said, somebody that's worked on the lands bill and stuff, we appreciate that it's not going to happen quick, and I think you're absolutely accurate on that. But we're committed to be here to work with you on getting that across the finish line. It's just going to take some time. I can tell you, and I'm happy to do it on the record, love the folks at BLM, but we have not made much progress on land transfers and, in my opinion, on the checkerboard component of that. But we are very hopeful on the SNPLMA funds, and we're grateful for your assistance, and again, working with Kai and our folks back there to get that done, because you did a heavy lift on that, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you, but so you know what at least the view in our neighborhood is people expect stuff to drag on, and, yeah, we'll get around to it. And God, look at now, it was 3 years ago, it was 4 years ago, it was that sort of stuff. And quite frankly, if you can't get it done in some sort of timely manner, and by the way, we tried to be pretty specific in the legislation with help from everybody involved. And so when you see those things starting to kind of go the normal way, it's like, no, that's not going to work. Or why is it taking this long? And if you need additional resources, or you need us to talk to somebody else, if the ball's in the Navy's court, if it's in BLM's court, if it's in, whoever's court, then it's like, okay. So I think that, Jim, we're probably at the point where in November, we're going to put everybody in the room, which is you guys, which is the local Navy folks, or the Navy folks from wherever, which is BLM at the state level and the Carson District level, and go, let's just go down the list. Because you guys have it, we have it too. Here's the list of stuff that was going to be done as part of this. And as I look down that, I'm going, this is not, nothing's ahead of schedule. Let's try to be nice about the way.
Well, and I would just add into that, I think that there's going to be a national security component that we haven't talked or shared with you guys yet on 2 of those properties that need to be transferred over. So I think that's going to help us tee it up and maybe get a little more action as well, which we can talk about online and with Ken online. And
Good.
We love Ken. He's been great, and we love communicating with him. He's been, I know you hate to hear that.
Well,
but,
for a guy who graduated from McQueen High School, he's doing pretty good,
Definitely not Douglas or Carson.
Thank you, folks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Congressman
Thank you,
Amodei,
Mr.
for everything
Chairman.
you do for Churchill County and rural Nevada.
Yep.
Any other public comment? Noting none, we stand adjourned. We'll have our quarterly jail inspection right after this.